All right, Matt, we've gotten the thumbs up that we are now live, so it's good to see everybody out.
Good evening to y'all.
I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. If there is a tornadic event and you must retreat to your safe place, take us with you. We'll keep you company.
Yeah, and we probably won't be evacuating to a safe place.
No. You know what? We're in the sanctuary of the Lord.
That's true. And, you know, hopefully it won't provide conclusive evidence of false doctrine.
Oh, we're good. We're good. My only concern today was I didn't want lightning to strike close by while I was touching a mailbox. That was the only thing.
Sounds good.
I do have one box that is it's on Sam Johnson Road, and it's under the high-powered lines, and they actually put an insulator on it.
Wow.
Because if you touch the metal, because it's underneath those, it does give you a tingle in your fingers. So you have to touch the insulator, and you can close the door of the mailbox. There you go.
That's a little frightening, but things we learn.
It's all part of the job. All right, tonight we're going to be studying in the book of Ruth, so be taking out your Bibles and be going to chapter 1. Tonight, Matt, do you think we can cover the first 2 chapters for sure?
I'd say that's pretty likely. They are short chapters.
Yeah, this is actually a short book. Look it up on any app where they're reading the Bible, and you might be able to listen to it in less than, I think, 20 minutes. About 5 minutes a chapter.
Probably. And
it's a good listen, or pull it out and read it tonight before you go to bed. Ruth is a great book, and it's a joy to read, isn't it?
It is. It is. I've always enjoyed my tours through Ruth.
Yeah, because you're not left scratching your head at any ambiguity here. I think that these are people that are presented up front as to be who they are, whether they're bitter like Naomi, at least at the beginning, or they're faithful like Ruth and Boaz, or even the people that surround them, the unnamed characters. They're doing exactly what we would expect them to do, particularly following on the heels of Judges.
Yeah.
And so it's a really straightforward book.
And they're a lot less awful than a lot of other Bible characters. So
yes, that's right.
It makes it enjoyable to read.
That's right. All right, we're going to be answering a few questions tonight as we go along. We've got a lot of folks that Matt are telling us that they're watching.
Well, good.
Let us know if you're watching. 2, don't let me forget Larry and Linda. And 2, if you're not a member here, let us know where you're watching from. Barbara, we know where you're watching from. You don't have to tell us. We'll get it right this time.
It's the state of Dixon. I understand it's to the north.
It's 2 states to the north.
Just so. The state of ignorance and the state of confusion.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I don't know why I thought she was from Illinois. But Jane set me straight this past Sunday.
Yeah, she clued us both in, I believe.
Yeah, Lamastus.
Yes. So we're all over the name now, too.
There we go. All right. Thank you all for watching us. Let us know that you're there. We'll do roll call a little bit later. And also, one other thing, don't crack a joke. Hit that share button and let folks know what you're watching tonight. And let them know about the kind of Bible study that they can get here at the Jackson Heights Church of Christ. Okay, Matt, let's jump into the text. We get an introduction, in the first 5 verses about, I dropped my notes, that kind of sets the scene for us that we are going to have in the book of Ruth. We're introduced to one of the main characters, Naomi.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about Naomi. What do we learn about her in these first 5 verses?
She married herself a Bethlehemite, an Ephrathite.
Okay. So that's from the city of Bethlehem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then just lived a pretty normal life, had 2 sons, about how you would want things to go if you are an Israelite woman.
Right.
Then there's a famine. They decide to pack up and move to Moab.
Now, should that shock us that they do that?
It's very strange for them to be abandoning the promised land like that.
Okay.
You know, it's not as bad as going back to Egypt or something like that, but this is definitely not what we would expect God's people to do. And we wouldn't even expect them to be seeing a famine like that.
Right. So something is going on because there is a famine. One of the things that when you're reading biblical narrative and you see a disaster, whether it's a blight, a crop failure, a famine, as we have in this case, we need to, or a drought's another one. We need to stop for a moment and ask ourselves, why is this happening?
That's it.
Because it's not climate change.
No.
There's something deeper going on, because a famine was one of the curses that God said would happen to you if you do not keep the law.
Exactly. Yeah, I just finished my yearly read through of Deuteronomy, and there's a whole big section in there about all of the horrible things they can expect to happen to them if they start worshiping idols, or that they start oppressing the poor, and all of this other stuff. And famine is definitely on that list.
Yeah, most certainly.
So the suspicion here, even though the text doesn't come out and say it, the suspicion here is this is one of those periods in the judges cycle when the people are being unfaithful and they're being punished.
Right. Now, we expect, if you're a student of the New Testament, you expect Jews to be living everywhere. It's the Jewish diaspora. James writes to the diaspora. That's who the epistle is written to. We expect that, but not in the Old Testament. We don't expect to see them in all of the far-flung regions of the world. So, one, we should be asking ourselves, why is there a famine? Two, we should be asking, why are they leaving during a famine? And then three, we should be asking ourselves, why are they going to Moab? Like you said, it's not as bad as Egypt, but it ain't good.
Yeah, why are they going to Moab, and why are they marrying Moabite women?
That's right. That's right. So the whole first 5 verses of the introduction of Ruth really is raising a lot of questions about the faithfulness of these people that shouldn't surprise us coming on the heels of Judges.
Yes.
When we see them doing all sorts of things. In fact, the very last verse of Judges, in those days there was no king in Israel. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes. So it was right in their eyes to leave. It was right in their eyes to go to Moab. It's right in their eyes to marry their sons off to Moabite women. And regardless of how Ruth is going to turn out in the story, all of that should leave us scratching our heads asking why.
Yeah, and this is very typical behavior at this point in time. This is what you would expect Israelites during the time of Judges to do.
That's right.
Because Judges 21-25 is the summary of the behavior of the whole nation.
Right.
And what's going to stand out here is the people in the story who don't behave like the wicked people of the time of Judges.
That's right. So give us the last verse there, verse 5, to give us that last summary. Actually, we need to go back a little further, don't we? Because the husband dies. I forgot to mention that.
Yes.
Her husband dies, and then we get the 2 sons in verse 5. And so she's left. So the woman was left without any male protection, if you will.
And this is a horrible place for a woman in ancient society to be. That if you are a widow, then sort of your retirement policy is your sons.
Right.
They're the ones who are going to support you in old age. That was the original meaning of honor your father and mother. It didn't mean respect them. It meant provide for them. And so she doesn't have anybody to support her right now because her husband's dead. And she doesn't have anybody to support her in old age because her sons are dead. And you know, if she were a younger woman, then that might be someone who would be forced to turn to prostitution, or just somebody who is going to end up being completely destitute with no money and no hope.
Right. And in fact, we see her, after being there for 10 years, she's lost everything because she's lost her husband and her 2 sons. And later she decides, I'm just going to go back home.
Yeah.
I hear there's food there now.
Yeah.
And I'm famished here.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back home. And she'll call herself bitter.
Yeah, and she doesn't need a moving van to take all her stuff back either.
Yeah, she ain't got nothing. So after 10 years of being outside the land, she is returning bitter and without nothing. Okay, real quick, let me turn to the audience. Let us know that you're watching. We'll do roll call here in just a moment. Let's go ahead and move then to the next section, beginning with verse 6. So she arose, verse 6, with her daughters-in-law, to return from the country of Moab, for she had heard that the fields in the fields of Moab that the Lord had visited his people and had given them food. So she set out from the place where she was with her 2 daughter-in-laws, and they went on the way to return to the land of Judah. Somewhere between the end of verse 7 and the beginning of verse 8, she has a change of mind, maybe. Yeah. She tells her daughter-in-laws, go back.
She does.
I don't need you to come. So Orpah,
yes,
I had to think about it.
Not Oprah.
Yeah. Orpah and Ruth both are traveling with her. They're going to go back with her. But then Naomi has a change of heart, and she says to both of them, go back. They both say, no, we're going to go with you.
Yes.
But then Naomi says, look, I'm not going to have any more sons. And even if I could have sons kind of following the law of the Levirate, would you wait for them to grow up so you could marry them? No, you're not. Go back.
Basically she's saying, admit to yourself how all of this is going to play out.
Right.
That in the end, you're going to abandon me anyway. So why pretend like this is going to turn out differently?
And so Orpah, I'm sorry, I have to really think before I say her name.
Think like Oregon.
Yeah, Oregon. She considers all this, and she's actually persuaded to go back, isn't she?
She is.
Right.
And, one wonders if Orpah looks inside her heart and says, her assessment of my character is spot on. This is what I'm going to do. Eventually, I'm going to leave her and get remarried, so I might as well go do that.
Yeah, and so Orpah then goes back to her mother's home, or goes back to her land and to her people. But Ruth isn't persuaded, is she?
She's not. And Naomi's statement here, I think, is really interesting. That she says, look, your sister...
Where are we going?
Verse 15.
Verse 15, okay.
Naomi said, look, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods.
Yes.
Follow your sister-in-law. So what's at stake here, too, is not just Ruth's economic status, whether she's going to return to her family and be provided for by her father again, presumably. It is whether she is going to continue to cling to Chemosh instead of following Yahweh.
Yeah, because one of the things that we forget sometimes, just like there are regional, I know this is kind of a lame example, but just like there are regional sports teams that people from that region always support.
I knew you were going there. I don't know why.
Because it's the only example I can think of that halfway fits.
Yeah.
Why do you follow Missouri?
Because I grew up there.
Okay.
And here I am in the land of the Moabites, and I'm still doing it.
That's right. I mean, I follow Tennessee, and, it's pretty lackluster. But that's just, I lived here. That's who I've been exposed to all my life.
Yeah.
It was the same thing with the people. And I know this falls short, but if you're a Moabite, you worship Chemosh. That's just who you worship.
Yeah. And to some extent, we see the same thing in people who say, my grandpa, he was a member of X denomination. And Daddy, he was a member of X denomination. So I'm going to be a member of that denomination too.
That's right.
And it's just that family pressure and that cultural pressure is what you allow to determine who you're going to be religiously.
That's right. So Naomi says, go back to your people, go back to your gods. But how does Ruth respond then? Look at verse 16. Matt, you want to pick up that reading?
In verse 16, it's almost like a point-by-point refutation
of
what Naomi has said. She says, don't say these things to me, because where you're going, I'm going. Where you live, I'm going to live. Your people are going to be my people. So I'm not going back to my people.
Right.
And your God is going to be my God. So I'm not going back to my God. And what's more, I am not going to remarry because I'm going to die right next to you. And that's where I'm going to be buried. This is a lifelong commitment that I am making here.
That's right.
And it's interesting that to show how serious she is about this, she doesn't call on Shema. She calls on the Lord.
That's right. In fact, if you look at the latter part of verse 17, she says, may the Lord. Now, what does it do in the CSB for the word Lord there?
It's small caps.
It's small caps.
This is Yahweh.
Yahweh. So in the Old Testament, when you see the word capital L and small cap ORD, that is the translation the translators are using to translate the proper name of God. So she is calling on God by his proper name. Because you could say Lord in the Old Testament in some context and mean Baal.
Yeah.
Or Chemosh.
Well, Baal was the word for master.
That's right. So you have it here. She is calling on God's proper name, Yahweh.
Yes.
And she takes up the oath statement. May Yahweh do to me and more also, if anything but death parts me from you. She's taking a covenant vow.
Yes.
That I will not leave you. I don't care what you do to me. I'm not going to leave you. And she's calling for God to punish her if she forsakes her vow. And we see that exact same terminology and phraseology all the way through.
Yeah. Even Jezebel makes vows like this.
Yeah, that's right. She does. Yeah, if she doesn't kill Elijah.
Yeah.
By the time the sun goes down.
Yep.
Is that how? Yeah, that's right.
First Kings 19.
And it did happen to her.
Yeah.
Just as she said. Okay, let's turn to the audience, Matt, and let's thank everybody for watching us. Let's see, Bradley and Sandra are watching. And again, I'll apologize. I think a few times people are like, you didn't call my name. I think sometimes I don't see everybody. It doesn't pop up, even though you may tell me. I just may not.
Facebook is wonky.
Doing the crawler again.
Roll call, roll call.
Oh, we need a cheer. Dennis just covered his eyes like this. Boys, what am I going to do with them boys? All right, Bradley and Sandra are watching, and Joyce and Dennis and Pam are here at Morning Point in Spring Hill watching. Glad that y'all are watching us from there. Chris and Debbie's watching. The both of us are watching. And Joe, if you're watching, I hope that you're feeling better.
Yeah,
pal.
we're praying for you guys.
That's right, man. And I hope everything's going well. Let's see. Jane Law. It says Joyce Pickering, Jane Law, and 5 other people are watching with you.
All right.
So thank you, 5 other people, and Janie. Barbara Lamastus is watching us from the state of Dixon.
Yes.
Beautiful place.
The Republic of Dixon.
The Republic of Dixon. Margie Vanderford is with us.
We get applause from Barnett in the back.
That's right, yeah. Chris is a citizen of the Republic of Dixon. Former citizen. You're an expatriate.
He's gone to Moab also.
That's right. And Ashley's watching, and Matt and Jill are with us, and Shirley is there, and the Ledfords are watching with us, and Zach Grimes is watching. Hey, buddy,
Hey,
I hope
Zach.
you're doing well. It's good to see you tonight. And let's see, Lynn Smith is watching us, and let's see, there's Jane again saying she's watching, and there's Lynn saying the whole family's watching, and the Molinex family is watching.
Good.
And the Talberts are with us, and Carolyn Stacy, and Melanie Fox, and Dana Turner, and Dennis, and Carolyn. I'll come to your comment in just a minute, Carolyn. And Larry and Brenda are watching with us from the Republic of Dixon. Wow, we got a lot of foreigners watching tonight. And
Did they speak English there?
a form of English. A form of English. It's worse than Humphreys County, though, isn't it? Okay. Carolyn's got a comment. And anytime, we haven't said this a whole lot lately. If you have a comment or a question, throw that up in the feed there. We're watching the Facebook feed. Chris is monitoring the YouTube feed. And I'm sorry if you're trying to text me right now to tell me you're watching. Larry and Linda, thanks for watching. I can't see those anymore. It's just too hard to take that SIM card out and swap everything around. But Carolyn says, it is interesting how Naomi stops talking to Ruth. Help me out there, Carolyn.
I think she's talking about verse 18, where it says, when Naomi saw that Ruth was determined to go with her, she stopped
said
talking.
no more. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. Okay.
And I think all that means is she just gave up trying to convince her.
She didn't give her the cold shoulder.
Yeah, I don't think that's it. Well, I'm going to give you the silent treatment because you're
The
ignoring
whole way to Bethlehem.
me. Yeah, goes stomping off down the road, arms folded.
Yeah. That's right. So she is resigned to the fact Ruth is going to
Yeah.
accompany her.
And as we'll see, it doesn't really change her perspective on her life.
No,
but-
it doesn't. Naomi is a sad person.
Yeah.
Well, let's wait and get to that. But we need to say one more thing about Ruth real quick. And this is the third question that I had put out there earlier today. Consider what Ruth was risking to stay with Naomi. What was she risking to stay with Naomi?
Economic security in her life.
Okay, so explain economic security.
Well, once again,
No, we're going to make some assumptions. Her dad's still living.
Yeah.
Everything's intact.
that on the one hand, she could go back to her family and probably be provided for to some extent there.
Right.
And probably get a shot at marrying some strapping young Moabite.
Right.
And so gets to go on being a subsistence farmer.
Right.
But if she is going to bind herself to her ex-mother-in-law, there ain't no provider in the picture.
That's right. So she's leaving security, and we assume there's security there. So she's leaving that and going to a place where she is not the majority ethnic group, but she is a minority, and not just any ordinary minority. She is the excluded minority.
Yes.
The law of Moses itself says Moabites cannot come into the assembly of the Lord, even into the 10th generation. And we talked last week, we don't think that means starting with the 11th that they can.
No.
It's to show the finality of all this.
Yes. This is, if you cling to your identity as a Moabite, then you can't be somebody who has any part in the worship of God.
Right.
That she's not going to be able to keep a foot in both camps here. This is burning her bridges behind her as she's going.
That's right. So Carolyn just piped in too and said she risked losing her family.
Yes. Well, no,
Absolutely.
she did lose her family.
That's right. That's right.
This is not a risk. She's never going back to those people again.
That's right.
She's never going to see mom again. She has traded Naomi for mom.
She's also traded her national and ethnic identity.
Yep.
Something to think about. She's going to have to dress slightly different now as she goes into a Jewish culture. She's going to have to eat different.
No more pork.
No more bacon in the morning. No ham for Easter. And we take that stuff for granted. But have you ever been to a foreign country for any length of time?
No.
So I was in the Ukraine for 16 days one time. And I tell you, man, I just wanted a good Coke. I just wanted a good Coke. They have Coke over there, but it don't taste the same. It was weird. And so, I just wanted a Coke. And I just wanted a good cheeseburger and some good hot French fries. Suddenly, when the foods that you're so used to just eating whenever you want them, you don't have those.
Yeah.
It really makes you long for the old ways.
Right.
She's giving all that up.
And of course, pork was only the beginning of those Levitical dietary restrictions.
Right.
So she is going ancient Near East keto here.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not going to be a lot of fun.
It's not. Now, my follow-up question to this is Ruth is showing a selfless love and loyalty to Naomi.
Absolutely.
It's not uncommon for these words of Ruth beginning at verse 16 or 16 and 17. It's not uncommon to hear those incorporated into some kind of wedding vow.
Yes.
And they're obviously couched that way in the text.
This is certainly a vow of some sort.
That's right. How can we go about showing selfless love like this to other people? Think on that for just a minute, and some of y'all give me a response. How can we, or what can motivate us to show this kind of selfless love for other people? Matt?
I think that Ruth gives us the answer here. That the reason why Naomi can be certain that Ruth really loves her selflessly is that Ruth is committed to her.
Mm-hmm.
And when people fear that we might abandon them if something changes, then they're never going to trust us.
Right.
That they have to be reassured of our commitment in the same way that Naomi was reassured of Ruth's.
That's right. And so we have to, in showing selfless love for other people, we have to tell them, I love you. I'm committed to you. I'm willing to take great risk for you.
Yes.
And then as we transition into chapter 2, we'll see that she puts those words into action.
Yes, she does.
And words of commitment and love, you know what? They're only the beginning point. It has to be followed up by action to be real. Just real quick, I just want to give a shout out to Aloha. She just piped in and said that she's watching with us. Aloha, I hope you're feeling better. Shelley told me that you're still struggling a little bit. And so we'll be praying for you, and we hope you're feeling better very, very, very soon. And all right, so chapter 2. What do we see, Matt, as we get into just kind of get us in just to the first few verses? Don't get us into Boaz just yet.
Well, what has happened basically is
I'm sorry, I forgot the return. The last verses of chapter 1.
Naomi and Ruth have returned to Bethlehem. I guess the old house of Elimelech is still there.
Right.
But they are still 2 women by themselves with no menfolk, with no one to provide for themselves. And so basically what Ruth is going to have to do and what Naomi are going to have to do is rely on the provisions of the law of Moses that have to do with caring for the poor. Like, for instance, we see it in Deuteronomy 24 and verse 19. This is just one of the commandments along these lines. When you reap the harvest in your field and you forget a sheaf in the field, do not go back to get it. It is to be left for the resident alien, the fatherless, and the widow, so that the Lord your God might bless you in all the work of your hands. That rather than having this elaborate social welfare program run by the government, the law of Moses made this the responsibility of everybody who owned land. That when you harvested your land, you weren't to take all of the crops away. You were to leave a little bit in case there was somebody who was in need so they could come behind you and from your land get enough for them to live on.
That's right. And that's the state that we're going to find them in as they come into Bethlehem. The narrator at the end of verse 22 tells us it's going to be at the beginning of the barley harvest is when they show up. So then that sets the stage for what we get into with chapter 2. Yep. We've already mentioned this, but I think we might need to back up real quick. Verse 19, to get to town, the town of Bethlehem, this little village where everybody knows everybody, is all stirred up. Hey, is this Naomi? Is that her for real? Hadn't seen her in 10 years. And she says, don't call me Naomi, call me Mara. For the Almighty has dealt very bitterly with me. I went away full, and the Lord has brought me back empty. We say, or she says, the Lord has brought me back empty. And yet, who's with her?
Just a woman.
Just this woman who's risked everything and that she has held dear all these years to be with me. That's all I got with me.
Yeah.
She's going to find out what kind of woman she's got with her because Ruth is going to put into action her covenant that she made with Naomi. And that gets us into chapter 2. So Naomi had a relative of her husband's, a worthy man of the clan of Elimelech, whose name was Boaz. Ruth the Moabite said to Naomi, let me go to the field. So Ruth says to Naomi, let me go to the field and glean among the ears of grain after him, in whose sight I shall find favor. And she said, go, my daughter. And so she set out and went and gleaned in the field after the reapers. And she happened to come to the part of the field belonging to Boaz, who was of the clan of Elimelech. Do you see the hand of God working in all that?
I think where it really shows up there is in the tail end of verse 3.
Yeah.
That you have maybe the one guy in the whole community of Bethlehem who's going to be at all helpful, who happens to be related to Elimelech.
Mm-hmm.
And it just so happens that when Ruth goes out by herself, this is the field where she lands. And by the way, we should recognize that, this is not like asking to run around to the corner to the quick stop to pick up a Coke and some donuts.
Right.
This is a real risk that she is taking.
Right.
That she is a young woman going...
And a
woman.
And a woman. And a... Texas tells us like 3 times already. Won't let us forget.
She's a foreigner.
She's a foreigner.
So she is a young female foreigner.
Yep.
Who is going to go wandering out in the countryside alone.
That's right.
And, if we think of her as having a big blinking red sign over her head that says, "Pray on me."
Which we get in verse 9.
Well, it shows up several times in the text.
That's right. I got my finger on 9. I'll just go there. Boaz will say to her, let's see, let your eyes be on the field that you are reaping. Go after my men.
Yeah.
Have I not charged the young men not to touch you? Well, what's he mean by that? Well, just keep reading.
Verse 15.
Yeah, I have to actually turn the page. Go ahead and get verse 15. I have to turn the page.
When she got up to order grain, Boaz ordered his young men, let her even gather grain among the bundles and don't humiliate her.
That's right.
And this doesn't mean that they're making fun of her.
Yeah. Don't reproach her.
Well, no, this means don't rape her.
Yeah. Because, remember, what does the last verse of Judges tell us to establish the context, the historical context of Ruth? Everyone is doing what seems right in their own eyes.
And we might think that it's weird that Boaz tells the guys who are working for him twice, don't go rape the stranger lady. But if they do, if you're looking at it at a purely practical level, where's the kickback coming from?
Right.
Because she doesn't have any men to protect her.
Yeah.
And nobody's going to come after them and kill them.
Right.
She's not even an Israelite. She's just foreign scum.
Right.
And, she's young. She's maybe good looking. Mm-hmm. So why not?
Yeah. What's there to lose? Because, we're all doing right what seems right in our own eyes.
Yeah.
And in fact, the story of Judges ends on this horrible sexual crime.
Yes.
Which again is establishing this historical context for us.
They're the men of Shechem. They actually go after a woman who belongs to a man.
Right.
And who is seeking hospitality from another man and still isn't safe.
That's right.
So, Ruth wandering around by herself, this is a dire risk that she is taking because the alternative is starvation.
That's right. And so we see her character developing even more as we get into chapter 2 because, one, she's willing to go out and work hard.
Yes.
It's not like she's reaping along behind the reapers, reaping with the reapers, and she's got an easy job of it. All she's got to do is cut it down and bundle it and keep moving on. She's got to pick it up off the ground, what may or may not happen to be there, what little is there.
Yeah, this is like head by head.
Yeah.
And if you want to think
not
about...
sheath by sheath.
Yeah, if you want to think about collecting the grain for the bread that you are going to eat, like singly stalk by singly stalk. Mm-hmm. And this is what is going to have to feed you for the next however many months. This is what Ruth is doing.
That's right. And she's willing to do it.
Yes.
In fact, she says to Naomi, let me go out and I will glean. I will pick up what's left over. And so she just so happens, as she's working in the field, just following the reapers, she happens to get into the field that belongs to Boaz. She is finding favor in his eyes. We get introduced to Boaz in verse 4. We actually get a mention of him back in verse 1.
Yes. We
get introduced to him in verse 4 when he shows up. He says, the Lord be with you, and they answer, the Lord bless you.
The very first thing that we see him doing is pronouncing a blessing in the name of God. This is
in the name of Yahweh.
Yeah, this is a good dude.
That's right. Boaz then said to the young man who was in charge of the reaper, hey, who's that woman over there? And so she is the young Moabite woman that came back with Naomi from the country of Moab. She asked them, "Can I please glean and gather among the sheaves after the reapers?" And so she's come. She's continued from early morning until now, except she did take a 15-minute coffee break, and that's fine. We don't mind that. This woman is a hard worker. She's willing to risk reproach. She's willing to risk her honor to go and provide for her mother-in-law. So she's putting into action the things that she said back in verses 16 and 17 of chapter 1.
And then Boaz's reaction in verses 8 and 9 is just great.
That's right.
This is a sterling dude.
Yeah.
Because he hears the story about, okay, you have this friendless Moabite woman who has been gleaning in our field.
Mm-hmm.
And Boaz doesn't do anything to her. Boaz doesn't even just shrug and say, well, whatever.
Right.
He goes to her and offers her his protection and says, stay here and I'll take care of you.
That's right. Pick up the reading at verse 8.
Then Boaz said to Ruth, listen, my daughter, don't go and gather grain in another field and don't leave this one, but stay here close to my female servants. See which field they are harvesting and follow them. Haven't I ordered the young men not to touch you? When you are thirsty, go and drink from the jars the young men have filled.
Yeah, so he's actually offering her not only the reaping privileges, but also from his own provisions.
Yes. He is treating her like a member of his household.
That's right.
Even though she is a friendless foreigner.
That's right. And I love what is said in verse 10. So then she fell on her face, bowing to the ground, and said to him, why have I found favor in your eyes that you should take notice of me, since I am a foreigner? I too just finished up Leviticus and Deuteronomy. So I've kind of got a lot of law in my brain, law of Moses. How many times, particularly in Deuteronomy, are they reminded, take care of the foreigners? Over and over and over and over again. And she acts like it's something that is strange.
Well, because
it was. That's right. Because it was strange.
In addition to all the other laws that the Israelites were violating at this time, they were ignoring what God said about caring for the foreigner.
That's right.
And she does not know that this isn't a law, probably.
Right.
And has no sense that she should be treated well at all.
Right.
I mean, this whole time, I am sure that she is terrified.
Yes.
And when this guy comes over to her, her heart is in her throat, and he's nice to her. She's just overwhelmed by this.
That's right. And so he reassures her, according to verse 11, all that you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband has been fully told to me, and how you left your father and mother and your native land and came to a people that you did not know before. The Lord repay you for what you have done, and a full reward be given to you by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have taken refuge. Now, let's stop.
That's one of my favorite blessings is in the whole Bible is Ruth 2:12.
Yeah.
It really, I think, captures who Boaz is. That he's not doing this because he has any idea that they're going to get married. Marriage is not even part of his mindset.
Even when it's presented to him, he's like, wow. Yeah. You really surprised me with that.
Yeah, he's not thinking of this at all. All he's concerned about is this is somebody who is trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be there for them.
That's right.
I'm going to take care of them, and I'm going to bless them.
Now let's do this a quick contrast to the previous two books we've studied, Esther and Song of Solomon. We've got more God in that one verse.
Yes.
Than we did in those two books combined.
Yes, we do.
And just over and over again. And again, I think that it's something, please don't lose sight of this when you're reading Ruth or you're reading another one of the Old Testament books. He is not just saying Lord like we say God, because to them, if we say God, basically everybody we're talking to knows what we're talking about. But if he had said God to Ruth, she probably understood what he meant, being that he is Jewish.
Yeah.
But if he had said that to any ordinary person in the marketplace with a whole bunch of foreigners, which one? he is talking about Yahweh.
Yeah, and I think what you see in the latter part of verse 12, Lord God is Adonai Yahweh. This is Lord Jehovah.
Lord Jehovah. So he's getting very specific with that, and he is blessing her. In fact, you said this is one of the best blessings. This book also has one of the best, and to me, one of the strangest.
Yeah.
Because one of the blessings that we'll look at next week when they get married is, may she be like Tamar.
Yeah.
I don't know.
As biblical role models go, Tamar.
Yeah, I don't think so. But that's the blessing that's given to her.
Yes.
There. Okay. Matt, what else do we need to? Oh, there's one other thing. Is we're kind of seeing her character enriched and it's developed. Verse 14. You know what? So verse 13, she says, I have found favor in your eyes, my Lord.
Yes.
All right, just real quick. She's not saying Yahweh there.
Right.
She is just calling him sir.
Yes.
By saying that. You have comforted me, spoken kindly to your servant, though I am not one of your own servants.
Yes.
I'm not one of your household.
But you're treating me that way.
But you're treating me that way. So, and at mealtime, Boaz said to her, come here, eat some bread and dip your morsel in the wine. So she sat before the reapers. Or I'm sorry, beside the reapers.
Yeah.
So he really is bringing her in to be one of his own. He passed to her roasted grain. She ate until she was satisfied. Whenever you read in the Bible that people are satisfied, that's a big deal.
Yes.
Because there oftentimes wasn't enough food for everybody to be completely satisfied.
Especially if you have left Moab with nothing.
With nothing.
This might be the first time she's had a full belly in who knows how long.
That's right. And she had some left over, and when she rose to glean, we don't get it right here at the end of verse 14, but she has some left over, and she saves it.
Yeah.
And then takes it to Naomi later.
Yeah. And the interesting development is that Boaz, by this point, he is so committed to this course of caring for Ruth,
right,
that he is going around to all of his harvesters and saying, hey, guys, leave a little extra for her.
Make it easier on her. Make it easy on her. Yeah, just break a bale every now and then and let her just pick up the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he is being very gracious to her. Verse 17, she gleaned in the field until evening. Then she beat out what she had gleaned. So she's gathering this up piece by piece. And it was about an ephah of barley. I did not look this up.
Well, fortunately, I am using the CSB, which translates those to English units of measurement.
Give me a unit of measurement.
So it says, and it was about 26 quarts.
26 quarts.
Of barley. So we're talking a little more than a 5-gallon bucket.
I have to imagine that's a pretty good haul for somebody who is supposed to just be picking up what's left over.
And we can tell that it's a good haul from Naomi's reaction.
That's right. And so take us to Naomi's reaction.
Verse 19.
Yeah.
Her mother-in-law said to her, where did you gather barley today?
Oh, no, come put the emphasis. Where did you gather today?
Yeah. And may the Lord bless the man who noticed you.
That's right.
Ain't no way that Ruth got that without help.
That's right. That's right. She is very impressed. So she told her mother-in-law with whom she had worked. And she said, the man's name with whom I have worked today is Boaz. And Naomi said to her daughter-in-law, may he be blessed by Yahweh, whose kindness has not forsaken the living or the dead. So she knows who Boaz is, as she will unfold for us. So she's blessing the living by helping Naomi and Ruth. He's going to bless the dead by perpetuating the name, as we will see.
Right.
Naomi said to her, may he bless whose kindness is not forsaken. All right. Naomi said to her, the man is a close relative of ours, one of our redeemers. Ruth the Moabite said, besides, he said to me, you shall keep close to my young men until you've finished all my harvest. So Naomi said to her, it's good, my daughter, that you should go out with these young women, lest in another field you be assaulted. So there we go.
I mean, the third time in this chapter.
The third time, that's right.
So if you have any doubts that this is a problem,
that's right.
Then erase those doubts.
That's
We're not
right.
just making this up.
That's right. This is a big problem. And Boaz has brought her under his protection as she has sought protection under the wing of the Lord. So she kept close to the young women of Boaz, gleaning until the end of the barley and the wheat harvest. So it even goes into the next harvest.
Right.
And she lived with her mother-in-law.
Yeah, and so the moral of this story is that Naomi and Ruth have been assured of continued existence through the kindness of Boaz.
That's right.
All of the awful things that could have happened to them are not going to happen to them.
That's right.
Because this is somebody who has decided to stand up in their favor.
That's right. And he is providing for them in the way that God had instructed him to do through the law of Moses.
Yes. Well, he's even going beyond.
He's even going beyond.
The law of Moses doesn't say, drop stuff out of your bundles for the poor, but that's what he's doing.
That's right.
Because, I mean, in all of the Bible, Boaz is one of the truly stand-up guys.
He really is. He really is. And to compliment her the way he does.
Yes.
And really is a true sign of the spirit that he had within him, that he would do that to a foreigner, let alone a Moabite.
Right.
Maybe we haven't emphasized that enough yet.
Moabite.
Yeah, you almost can't get any worse. Nobody else, unless I'm mistaken, no other foreign
the Ammonites,
people.
I think.
The Ammonites had the prohibition as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the Egyptians, for instance, were in a much better place.
That's right. Yeah. So this is one of the worst clan of people you could be from to be among the Jews.
And yet Boaz sees her and he has compassion for her.
That's right. Unlike we will see later with Jonah, who grudgingly preaches, Boaz is willing.
Yes,
to give
from the get-go.
That's right. Right from the get-go, he is willing to do that. Okay, just real quick, Matt, we've had some people join us.
Okay.
Since we did the roll call.
Well, it's called the tardy roll call.
The tardy roll call. Betty Rhodes. Are you here, Betty? Yes, I heard her all the way over.
Man, your hearing's better than mine. I used to have good hearing, but then I got middle-aged.
What? Shelly's with us. I've been told to stop doing that joke. Shelly's watching, and Debbie's watching, and Judy is watching, and Wendy Davis is watching, and Anthony Davis is watching, and J. Earl Hughes.
Okay.
Has also joined us tonight. So thank you all for watching us. We're about to wrap up, though, Matt.
We are.
So for those of you joining late, just move the little dot all the way back to the beginning, and you can start right after the music.
All the Bible, all the bad jokes, they'll be waiting for you.
They'll be waiting for you. Okay, Matt, give us a last word. Hone in on somebody or something that was said.
I think I have to return again. Well, it's both of them, really.
Okay.
When you look at what Ruth is doing, she is going above and beyond what anybody would expect of a daughter-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at Boaz, you see somebody who is going above and beyond what was expected from a neighbor.
Right.
And this reminds me of what Jesus says in the Sermon on the Mount about how our righteousness needs to exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees.
Right.
That in our care for others, we need to be people who go above and beyond too.
Yeah. Since you did those two, I'll focus on Naomi. I think we can see ourselves a lot in her. She is going to ride the waves of emotion.
She is.
She leaves the land with her husband and her sons. She left full in a time of famine, which is she had a full family.
Yes.
And an empty belly. She's come back empty.
Empty belly and empty
family.
Yes.
Blames it on the Lord. Says, but then in the same vein, blesses the man who is the Lord's arm in blessing her.
Yes. So she's starting to thaw a little bit
she
at
is.
the end of chapter 2. I think I think she is already forming a plan that we will see in chapter 3.
That's right. And then we will see her great blessing of the Lord in chapter 4. So she's up, down, up, finally ends on the high note.
Right.
And I think we all traveled that same path.
Yeah. And Naomi is It might be that Ruth and Boaz are too good to really appreciate, but Naomi is somebody that we can identify with when we're
That's right.
going on the spiritual roller coaster.
That's right. So if you haven't already, read the book of Ruth. Lord willing, next week we'll get into chapters 3 and 4 and wrap up this study. And that'll wrap up 3 books we've done in 1 quarter.
Not bad. We picked 3 short books.
We
so that
did.
helps.
We did. All right. Matt, let's see. We need to invite everybody to the assembly on Sunday. 10:15 in the morning. Let's see. I got the AM sermon.
You do?
We're going to be continuing our marriage series, Be the Light in Your Marriage. This week I have intimacy.
You do. And let the record reflect that he was asked to preach this. This
Yes.
was not his idea.
And I'm kind of like, man, I won't regale y'all all with the troubles I have with formulating, because we've been asked to do some very specific things. Yeah. And it's hard to, if you just gave me the topic and said, Clay, go preach this, whatever you want to say. Oh yeah, I can do that all day long. But if you ask me to hone in on one aspect of that, it gets kind of hard sometimes.
It can. That
Yeah.
is definitely the case.
But
which is why I don't listen when people do that.
What?
I just take the topic.
That's right. Just roll with it. So we'll be talking about intimacy 10:15 on Sunday morning. We are meeting live and in person. And so we invite you to come. We have COVID restrictions still in place. Please wear a mask. Sit every other pew. If the auditorium is too full, we have overflow rooms that we'll send some of our own people to.
Yes.
Visitors get to stay
we won't
in
boot
here.
visitors.
That's right. We won't boot visitors. So please be with us. We'll also be meeting again at 5 o'clock.
Yes.
And you will be preaching on?
I am going to be preaching a sermon called Where the Judaizers Went Wrong.
Ah.
We're going to be looking at where the party of the circumcision in the New Testament, what mistakes they made spiritually that got them in such trouble.
Yeah. And I don't know, we've said it a few times, and I hope everybody's enjoying the Sunday night sermons as they are a prelude to that week's part of the reading plan.
And every week we've been taking those from that Bible.
That's
reading.
right. I'm enjoying preaching that way. I hope folks are enjoying it as they get into the Bible reading.
It's good because it makes me get out of my preaching wheelhouse.
Yeah.
That, it has to be something from the week's reading. So let's go into portions of the Bible where, in this case, I've never been before.
Yeah, some of it. So if y'all can join us, we'll be here live and in person. If you can't, you can find us on Facebook under the church's Facebook page, Jackson Heights Church of Christ, or on our YouTube page, Jackson Heights Church of Christ, on there as well. Subscribe, and you will get a notice whenever we're going live.
Yes.
And
because you'd hate to miss these.
You would hate to miss them. Shelley said last week, watch, because you never know what they're going to say. And they don't disappoint.
The elders live in terror every episode.
That's right. And I'm happy to do it. All right. I think we can wrap it up now.
Yes, sir.
Thank you all for watching us. God bless you. And hey, be safe out there.
Yep. It sounds like the fountains of the deep have opened.
Yes, they have. See y'all later.